welcome back. I missed you guys so very much. I know it's been like 3 weeks. Your girl done went MIA, but I'm back. And today I have something really dope to show you, okay? So let's just go ahead and get right into it. Whoa. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I'm going to be taking things in a little bit of a different direction from now on. I'm still going to do my sweet treats. But one thing you guys may not know about me, if you follow me on social media, then you'll know. But if you do not follow me on social media, you may not know that I also make novelty cakes. I just recently made a season premiere cake for Good Girls too. And so yeah, anyway, I've been making cakes. I've been experimenting with cakes for the past year and I've gotten pretty good at it. So good to the point to where I decided that I want to show you guys step by step how I build my cake. I wanted to make a video specifically to show you guys how to frost and stack cakes, okay? So that whenever I move on to the next part, which will be decorating the cakes, you'll already know how I started and I won't have to repeat it in every single video. You know what I'm saying? We kind of grew up just throwing the frosting up there, putting them on top of each other and keeping it moving. I used to do the same thing until I got into baking and I learned the proper techniques of how to, stack and frost the cake. So I'm going to show you guys that today, okay? So for this video, I will be using 3 8-inch round cakes, okay? That's what I'm going to be using, just so that you have an idea. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bread knife. You don't have to particularly use a bread knife. I just so happen to have one, thanks to my husband. Shout out to him for getting me this for Christmas. And you're just going to cut the very top of your cake, okay? You do not want to dig into it. You're not trying to cut off all of your breading, okay? You're just going to kind of scrape across the top of it. The reasoning for doing this is to eliminate some of the unnecessary crumbs that you don't, want to deal with later on. So you're just going to take your knife, whatever knife you have around your house, and you're just going to scrape off the top. You want to get it leveled out because, when you bake your cakes, naturally they rise and they don't come out too leveled. So right now you're just trying to kind of get it to the same level. Okay? Now, typically, I will also go around the cake, take my knife, and just kind of carve down the edges. You do not have to do this, but I'm just showing you how I normally do it. And like I said, you're doing this just so that you can eliminate some of those crumbs. So I really love making cakes more than anything. I will still be doing the edible crafts that I've been doing with my nieces and nephews. But for the most part, I'm going to get back into, I can't talk. For the most part, I'm going to get back into doing my cakes because it's something that I'm really passionate about. And I don't want to just put out content just to kind of put something out. I want to put out things that I'm passionate about, That's all we did. We just shaved the top and then we shaved off the sides, okay? All right, so for our frosting, I am going to be using my homemade buttercream frosting. I will be uploading a separate video on how to make this frosting. It's really simple. It's 3 ingredients. Put your frosting up there. Put a big pile of frosting. And then you're just gonna smooth it around. Now, I'm using a curved knife from Wilton. But if you have a butter knife, whatever knife you have at home, use that. It works just the same, okay? So we're just gonna take our frosting and just kind of slowly spread it around. Now you don't want to press down too much on it because this frosting is gonna stay in the middle of the cake because this is gonna be in between your layers. Grab our next layer. And then we're gonna do the same thing we did with that. And we're gonna carve off the top, your cake. Okay, so once you carve off that top, then you're gonna take it down to the sides. You're not trying to cut off the whole cake, guys, okay? Take your time. I'm doing a little bit faster and I'm actually finding myself having to slow down, but because I do this so often, it's so easy for me to just like, you know, go fast with it. But I'm having to remind myself, you're recording a video, so you gotta kind of slow down a little bit, okay? So we're just carving off the sides, but you do not want to carve too much. You see how thin this is? This is how thin I'm cutting off. I don't know how well you can see that, but this is how thin it is. I'm not cutting off a thick layer, okay? And we're gonna just prop this one right on top of the next one. You see how you got that really thick buttercream frosting in between that layer? That's what you want. Okay? And now we're gonna repeat the same thing. Take the frosting, a really big chunk, and just plop it right on top, okay? You want it nice and thick in the middle of each layer, okay? So you're gonna do the same thing with this one and just kind of smooth it around. So now, we're gonna do something a little bit different with this layer. Instead of just picking this one up and placing it on top, we're gonna flip this one over and place it upside down, flat side up. The top layer of your cake should always go upside down. This time when you smooth it out, you're gonna bring it down to the sides. So when you smooth this frosting out, you're gonna push it out to the sides, okay? Our first coat is our crumb coat. That means this is the coat that is going to collect all of our crumbs. Because when we're done with our cake, we don't want any crumbs in our frosting. So now you're just gonna take that frosting from the sides. You're gonna take it from the top, and then just bring it down to the sides, okay? All right, guys. Now you're just gonna take that frosting from your edges and bring it into the middle. This in the freezer, not the refrigerator. You want to put this in the freezer because you want your frosting to get really, really cold and firm. So then we're gonna go back over it with our second coat. Okay guys, so now that our cake has been in the freezer for 20 minutes, now we're just gonna take some more frosting. We're gonna pile that on top of the cake. And this is gonna be our second coat. So you want to clean that knife off that you were just using for your crumb coat because it has crumbs on it and you don't want that on your final coating. So now we're just gonna take that frosting. Your cake should be really, really cold. Your frosting is stiff. So now those crumbs aren't going anywhere. So we're just gonna take that frosting, and this time we're gonna push it down to the sides again. So you wanna create a really flat surface on the top. You see I'm doing like a back and forth motion so that I'm pushing down that frosting towards the sides at the same time. Got me? Okay. So now that you have that, now you're just gonna take that frosting that you've pushed down and you're gonna bring it down to the sides. All right. I'm just gonna bring that frosting in from the edges. Now you have a perfectly frosted cake. So I'm just gonna clean up my stuff, take my frosted cake, pop it back in the freezer for 15 to 20 minutes, and then we're gonna put fondant on top of this baby when we get back, okay? Now, as I said before, you can either stop right here and proceed with decorating at this point, you know, you have a perfectly frosted cake, or you can add fondant to it. And because of the particular cake that I'm gonna be making, in my next video, I'm gonna cover this cake with fondant. So I'm just gonna move this to the side. It's cold, my frosting is stiff. Don't have to worry about that coming off. And I'm gonna take my fondant. I use Wilton fondant. I'm not a huge fan of fondant, but Wilton fondant is really good. Just gonna roll this out. So for whatever fondant you're using, I recommend to roll the fondant out based on the shape of the cake. So if your cake is round, roll the fondant out in a circle. If your cake is square, roll the fondant out in a square. And it's way easier for you to get that cake completely covered that way. I had to stand up for this, y'all. You got to get them elbows in it. Get that fondant rolled out really well. You want to get it rolled out as thin as you can. Flip it over. And just take your time and get it rolled out. Now, put my cake back over here. I didn't want to knock that off. Okay. I'm gonna take my rolling pin and I'm going to kind of roll that fondant. Pick it up. Roll it over the cake. Woo. Whew, that was a lot of work, guys. Use your hands. If you do not have a fondant smoother, you use either your hands or the fondant smoother, and you're just gonna kind of rub it, you know. Be gentle with it. Kind of press down on your fondant a little bit, and just smooth out all the sides all around the cake. Right, we're gonna take our little knife and we're just gonna trim off the extra fondant. Just gonna trim the extra fondant off. All right, guys, and there you have it, a perfectly frosted and fondant covered cake. Okay. Now at this point, you have yourself a blank canvas and you can do whatever you want to do with this cake. I have something really, really cool planned for this cake. I really appreciate you guys so very much. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.